Welcome back to the Morning Show here on Arise News. The infrastructure gap affecting Nigeria continues to widen following the failure of successive administrations, civilian or military, to consolidate on the gains of the oil boom era. The legacy of that period can still be seen in bits and pieces across much of Nigeria's urban centers, notably Lagos, where the National Arts Theatre stands as an enduring monument of a glorious past. A promise to expedite action on infrastructure development was part of the template sold to Nigerians by President Buhari at the inception of his administration 4 years ago. To what extent has he been able to match words with action? Well, joining us now to talk about this and more is Senator Ayo Arise, who was elected to the National Assembly for the Ekiti North District in 2007 and was appointed Chairman, Senate Committee on Privatization. He was also a member of other committees, including local and foreign debts, water, banking, insurance, and other financial institutions. Welcome to the Morning Show, Senator Arise. Great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Well, Senator, it's good to see you. Well, you know, you are Senator, you are Arise, but I know your fans call you Arise. And here you are on Arise News Channel. So, you know, it's good to see you. But let me ask you.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask you, Senator, what's your assessment of the infrastructure, profile or achievement or delivery of the Buhari administration so far? Because we have the Minister of Power, Works and Housing telling us every day that there is a project in every state. They've done a lot. But in spite of that, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway remains an uncompleted project. The whole country is littered with infrastructure challenge deficit.
Yes, for me to, I will start this morning, I read your column. I noticed that you have endorsed the Works, Power and Housing Minister, which obviously it's a signal that he has done well by your own assessment. And I think I will want to agree with you largely that in terms of infrastructure development in the country, it's a work in progress. But what we've been hearing and the things we have been seeing, I do not travel too frequently by road anymore after my experience, but the little I've been able to see, I've seen significant improvement in the road network in terms of repairs, new ones being constructed. And when you talk about the Ibadan-Lagos Expressway, that has been ongoing even since the previous administration. And you would agree that the problem with that particular road is that it's the busiest road in the country. And it's almost impossible for the place to be shut down and construction would continue uninterrupted. And I believe managing the traffic during the construction will be part of the problem why completion of that road has been a major problem that we have experienced. I know that it's almost about maybe 80–90% completed now, because from the Ibadan-Lagos axis, they've made significant improvement. Ditto the Lagos-Ibadan side. So, but I've not been there I've not traveled there in the last 2 months or 3. So I won't be able to give you the on-hand experience of those applying the road on a daily basis. But I think what is most important is that work has not stopped, and the government keeps assuring us that the road will be completed. And of course, I trust this government that by and large, most of the promises they've made, particularly on road construction on the second Niger bridge and all that, these are works that are progressing, and they're progressing. They're not things that can be done or achieved overnight. It's different, from other businesses like constructing a house. It's completely different from construction of roads, because you still have to always manage the traffic. And I believe that is the reason why there is a little delay. I won't say little, there's a lot of delay on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And I think once it's finished, and I hope they've not taken attention because the rail line, Ibadan, Lagos, is actually coming on stream. And I understand by December, that will become open to Nigerians to use. And of course, when you talk about infrastructural development, the rail line is a major component as well, because once people can move from point A to point B, in terms of commerce, there will be significant improvement. And the roads, look at Kaduna, Abuja. It's been a major challenge for security, but the governor in today's newspaper said, well, the place is safe now. And I believe the IG has taken notice of that particular road, and I'm sure he would have ensured that that place is very safe, because I think he has what it takes, and he understands police work. And I'm sure he's giving Nigerians a breathing space for now. Yeah.
Well, we've heard that the Kaduna-Abuja highway was safe, and then just days after, we had kidnappers go on a rampage unstopped. But let's talk about other promises of this government. The three cardinal promises of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration on the economy, on security, and the fight against corruption. Elections are over. Campaigns are over. It's time we tell ourselves the truth. In your opinion, what would you say is the biggest challenge of this administration in really delivering on those promises? Why has the Buhari administration not been able to deliver on any of these three promises?
Well, I think by and large, there is a lot of progress in all the areas that the APC promised, particularly under our president. And I think in terms of security, the challenge is so humongous that it will take everybody in the country actually to work on getting very serious on security. Now, when you look at the unemployment that is threatening our economy and threatening the whole populace, you see most of these unemployed youths are the ones that have taken to all manner of antisocial behaviors, which has resulted in all this kidnapping and a lot of other problems that has become a major challenge in the country. When you look at security, you look at the Boko Haram, the achievement in the Boko Haram area, there was a time everybody was feeling threatened that even Boko Haram could get down to the south. But I believe that fear is now over.
And replaced with other challenges.
Resolved, but
the Boko Haram fear may be over, but it has been replaced. It has been replaced with other security challenges, from banditry to kidnapping to armed robbery. It's all over the country.
Well, let's look at it this way. This has been in existence before this government came in. And we will still have challenges after this government is out of power. There is, with the kind of population that we have and our inability to develop our manufacturing sector effectively, the fact that employment, the government cannot absorb everybody looking for a job. And of course, the major challenge is that we don't really have the resources in terms of income to resolve most of these problems the way we would like them resolved immediately. It's probably almost impossible. Now, we are budgeting maybe about 8 to 9 trillion now. And when we convert that to dollars, which is the base currency that we use around the world, you'll find out that Nigeria does not even have the kind of money that Apple, just a company, has, And Apple became $1 trillion company, ditto Amazon. we have to begin to develop our businesses, develop our potentials, and ensure that once we're able to have electricity, all these young men that are very talented can begin to improve, and we can begin to develop businesses that can go international, that can begin to fetch us the kind of income and revenue that Nigeria needs to be a place of comfort for everybody. When you look at, even though we're not talking, I mean, the corruption issue is still a major problem, but of course, there has been good attempt from this president and from this government to show that it's serious about curbing corruption. It cannot be eradicated overnight. But when we are saying the government has done fairly reasonably well, it's because we are seeing examples of what did not happen in past regimes happening now. You are seeing people being called to accountability. And this is not a perfect solution, but this government is moving in the right direction. Once the base and the foundation is strong, I believe we will begin to see the results of some of these initiatives and the policy of the government as we continue in the next 4 or 5 years. Yes.
Senator Arise, I mean, I like the fact that you referred to the security challenge in the country. You yourself, you were once a victim. You were kidnapped, and you ended up having to pay about 200 million to secure your freedom. Can you share with us what that experience was like? The experience of being, a graduate of kidnapping. Pardon my phrase.
Ruben, yeah, well, it was a serious nightmare. But by the way, I didn't pay 200 million. Maybe somewhere in the neighborhood about 10% of that. So first, I don't have 200 million to pay. And even the 20, because I was in incarceration, my friends quickly gathered that together and settled those people. It's something I don't wish for my enemy to happen. Because if I were not very athletic, they probably would have returned my cups, because from the time I was kidnapped, I trekked, and I was even made to be running. And at a point, they now said whether I was a retired soldier or a policeman. I said, no. And they asked me, I was very careful when they were questioning me. When I said I'm retired, I don't have a job and all manner of stuff. And they said, of course, where did you retire from? I said I retired from the National Assembly. Initially, I didn't tell them that I was in the Senate, but I knew they might find out. So second day, the newspapers, radios started carrying stories. So they came back. I didn't hear. They tell me that, okay, what's your name? You told me that your name is Ayo. I said, yes. Are you Ayo Arise? I said, yes. So, but you didn't tell us who I said it. I said, you didn't ask me. I told you I retired from the National Assembly. So I managed the process and I engaged them completely. When they first started asking me and insisting on 80 million, I told them I just don't have it, pure and simple. They said all the money I stole in the National Assembly. I told them that is the perception of everybody. It's not everyone that goes there that goes to go and steal money. And I continued to engage them, and at the end of the day, they agreed to something that when my friends told me this is how much they had, and I told them. I was there for about 5 days. So it's an experience that one should actually pull down. The way you engage them will determine whether you will live or you will die. So I just felt that God had mercy upon me, because at the end of the day, how much is the money? If I were not alive today, maybe a week or two after, everybody would have forgotten. So and that's the scary aspect of this experience. So I want to say thank you for asking me, but I will take the whole time if I continue to tell you what I went through on a day-to-day basis. But we were sleeping on the bare floor in the bush, so it wasn't. But there'll be time. I will discuss and talk to you about that experience in more details.
Well, it's better left imagined what you could have gone through in that experience. But let me ask you about President Muhammadu Buhari's next tenure. May 29 is almost upon us. I mean, expectations are high on who the wingsman or wingsmen and women of President Muhammadu Buhari would be in his next cabinet. You said the government has done fairly well in areas of the economy, security, and corruption. Would you say that he should retain the same hands across boards? If not, what kind of appointment would you like the president to make?
Well, when I read Ruben's column this morning, I felt, what can I say, you know? But for me personally, when you look at the leaders in this cabinet, and particularly those in the, the economic side of things, I would imagine that since the president has retained Emefiele as governor and compensating for the good work in terms of managing the economy, I believe a person like the Minister of Finance, quiet person as well, but delivering on the job. So we have to, when we commend one, we commend the other. I think she's one of those that I would imagine the president might take a look at, very critical look. And of course, she came from budget, and she's displayed a lot of maturity that's leading to the stability in the economy. Once the dollar rate is stable, which they have been able to make largely very stable now, people can begin to plan. Even if it is 400, let us know that it is 400, that is not gyrating back and forth. Now it's at 360 or 350. And we're able to manage and plan within that range. It shows that the government is doing something right. And of course, it's not, when people start comparing with 1980, when we were changing money for $1 to $2, it's never going to sustain. It will never be like that. But it doesn't matter the amount. When you look at how much the lira changes for, or the kind of currency they use in Brazil, you now know that it's not the quantum, but the stability, the predictability of that currency that will allow businessmen to plan and do what they need to do. And when you look at everything they've been doing for the manufacturing sector, encouraging, giving a window for them, you know, to buy raw materials and all that. And when you look at what is going on in the agricultural sector, you know that this government, they are doing so much that is commendable. And Ruben mentioned the Minister of Commerce. Of course, the initiative of bringing that cost of registration of business down is quite commendable, and that is from the office of the Vice President and the Minister of Commerce. You don't need to make starting a business very prohibitive. And part of the thing that if I had my ways, is that when you start doing advert and you are saying that the person must have 10 years experience, 20 years experience, must have done this business, how do you encourage those who are just starting? So they will never be able to have access to government business. These are some of the areas that we have to look at very critically. Once a person is able to provide you with a bond for performance, if he doesn't perform, then he doesn't get any further job. He already has what we call a trait that you can actually link the person with. There are so many things that we can discuss on the economy, but the president can, there are so many qualified Nigerians to be minister.
So you have said he should retain only 2 out of almost...
select among those that he knows.
You have only mentioned 2 out of almost over 20 ministers.
Those that are there? Well, as far as I'm concerned, if I start mentioning names, if I refuse to mention some names, am I really in a position to give full assessment about their performance, apart from area where I operate? For me, I look at it, I'm a businessman. Yes, I'm a businessman. Even before becoming a politician, I'm sure Ruben knows my antecedents and all that. And I was in the financial sector because I introduced the first switching facility, the processor for MasterCard in Nigeria. So it's not, I'm not new to that financial sector of the economy. Going to the Senate, yes, was a diversion, but a very welcome one. And it's good at least you're part of those who is, I mean, one is one of those who can lend a voice to whatever is going on in the country today.
Well, Senator
I just
Arishem,
remain in business unless I'm as rich as, yes.
Senator, talking about going to the Senate, you were part of the 6th National Assembly, 2007, you left in 2009, and then in this 2019 general election, 2019 election, you tried to come back. You tried to run for Senate from Ekiti North, but you ended up pulling out, you know, complaining about an attempt to anoint some persons, you know, Godfather syndrome. What exactly happened in the Ekiti senatorial race?
Well, I guess at the end of the day, the governor decided, and I really didn't take anything against him because we are from the same local government, and it's rational for him to say, okay, if the governor is from this local government, if I now start pushing for the senator to come from the same local government, maybe the way people will perceive it will be different. But of course, there are many people suffering similar fate in this country. It's not about the competence or ability for you to deliver for your people, which I believe I enjoy quite significant support from my people and from the senatorial district and the Senate. But I wasn't going to be quarreling with the governor. We're in the same party because I'm not getting the Senate. There are other things that I can get. And if I don't get anything, I still have my business to fall back on and, you know, continue to work with it. So it's not really about myself. It's about the process. And if we begin, the moment anybody becomes a governor in this country, every appointment now is in his hand. He determines who will be a senator, a House of Rep member, who will be a minister, who will be anything. If, I mean, for me to get any serious appointment, I must be in the good books of the governor because the president will have to ask him first. So I'm just using that as an illustration of what happens across board. The power is too much. And you see that when some people couldn't get their ways, it became a rough fight, particularly in places like Ogu and Imo. So it's not unique, and it's not, I mean, it's not something for these two people or others. It is the system. Because even if the governor does not want to do it, the people will be reminding him of the powers that you must support me. If you don't support me, you know, this and that. So it's our system. We are not really that developed yet. And that is our aspiration, that we'll get beyond where we are now. And things will begin to improve. And I am an advocate of what we call independent candidates. You know, I advocated for it when I was in the Senate. The only problem is this ballot paper. How many names are you going to get there? And that is why I'm one of the advocates of electronic voting. Because if you want to vote for somebody, everything will be on the system. You just scroll down. This is the party I'm voting for. This is the person I'm voting for. Without INEC having to print 20, 30 pages of documents. Part of the challenge is that, you know, people had in not supporting independent candidature at that time was the fact that how do we now take care of everybody in the ballot paper? So for electronic voting, we can resolve that. And I think we'll go beyond resolving that particular problem with electronic voting. The fact that you have to be moving logistics here and there, carrying paper, you know, spending so much money that can be used for other developmental programs. Now, if we go on electronic voting, it's just one box, and everything is in there. The moment you are voting, it will be replicated at the center if it is so desired, which is what the president will most likely sign before he leaves office. So when we keep on talking about changes, we cannot remain in the same place and expect a different result. We are talking about rigging. We have moved from snatching of ballot paper, carrying it physically, writing results. We have modified it to a significant level, but we still have to continue to improve on the system. So just like we need to continue to improve in other areas, other spheres of
Senator,
the economy and politics as well.
Senator, quickly, before we let you go, one more question. What's your take on the politics of the National Assembly? You know, the toing and froing over party supremacy, the APC, the ruling party, insisting that it's a winner-takes-all situation and candidates have been anointed. Considering the fact that you yourself complained about anointment in Ekiti, and of course, you've been a member of that National Assembly. What's your take on all of this?
Well, looking at it this way, my only complaint to the governor was the fact that he did not inform me by himself. And I told him that. Otherwise, it was very clear that because the governor is from my local government, it was going to be very difficult for me to actually become a senator from the same local government. So, and I took it. Immediately, I just left the country and went to the States. When I came back, most of the issues had died down. Now, the issue of the National Assembly. During the 6th Assembly, I was in the PDP, and Dr. Amadou Ali called us to this same Transcorp, all the elected senators and the returning ones, and told us that David Mark that we should go and vote for. In plain terms. But despite that, some people still went ahead to run against David Mark. But because the party had a lot of weight, and we knew we came in on the ticket of that party, not as individuals. So it is not any different now. The party coming up to say they want Lawan. It's not as if the party has gone to go and pick somebody that is not experienced. The party looked at Lawan as the leader of the Senate, the current leader of the Senate, leading the APC as a party, because the majority party in the Senate will provide who the leader is and actually who the president of the Senate is. So, and that's why you have minority leader, minority whip, everything you have for the ruling party, you have equivalent of minority in the opposition party as well. Now, apart beyond the fact that Lawan is the current leader, you can say that Dume was also a leader at a point during the 8th Senate. But when you look at seniority, Lawan came to the Senate 4 years before Dume came, even though Dume stayed 2 terms in the House of Reps. And in totality, the two of them have the same number of years in the National Assembly. But the person who has the most seniority in the Senate currently is Lawan. And if the party says this is the person, all I expect the party to do is to call Lawan and maybe Governor Goje, have a meeting with them, resolve this matter. There are so many things in the Senate that they can also be relevant. You don't have to be a leader or a Senate president or whatever before you do something tangible for your people and for the country. So for me, I think it's a disagreement that is really uncalled for. But if it's a question of the Senate defending their rights, you know, and say, okay, we don't want anybody to interfere. At the end of the day, the party leaders will still not be there. But those who took the ticket of APC ordinarily should go the way APC wants them to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's clear. Your position is quite clear. You know, thank you very much, Senator Ayo Arise. Well, to many of our viewers, they will think you bear the same name with our station. So, you know, I say to you, arise. Arise. Thank you very much.